I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, well, before we proceed on, we are going to go slightly out of order. We're going to take up two resolutions. And then I have two individuals who I'm going to swear in this evening. So the first resolution that we're going to take up tonight is Resolution 2021-212, sponsored by Supervisor Syed and Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
a resolution appointing a council member to the town board.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
I just want to point out how pleased I am that we were able to have someone come back to this town board who served it with distinction for a number of years. She was always on top of every issue. She was very active throughout the community. She was really one of the people who worked with the supervisor to get the farm market going. And I know the softball fields have a lot of, they say success has a lot of fathers and mothers, but everything that we were able to do with the softball fields all started with Lisa having a conversation with Assemblyman Steck. And I could go on for accomplishments for the last 4 years. But one thing that she did better than all of us put together was be able to stay on top of the budget issues, be a contributor during the budget, and really help us move forward. And I'm looking forward to Lisa helping with this process again this year. So I am looking forward to voting on this resolution.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, I just want to echo Councilwoman McGraw's remarks that we really appreciate Lisa Weber coming back and filling this seat for us at this time. Her experience that she had on the board for 4 previous years in working with us and budgeting is just a tremendous help for us. We really want to thank you, Lisa, for coming back to serve. And that's what she is doing, serving the community. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will echo the sentiments that were just spoken by thanking Lisa for agreeing to come back and serve the community in this way. We are pleased that you're doing that. It takes a lot of work and a lot of effort, as I know my colleagues can attest to. So just the fact that you're doing it is incredibly wonderful. So thank you so much.
And selfless, thank you. And Michael, thank you for loaning her to us.
Thank you. So with that said, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
3 ayes.
And this resolution passes. So at this time, I would like to swear Lisa Weber in. If you would join me at the front.
Yeah.
I, Lisa Weber, do solemnly swear
I, Lisa Weber, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of councilperson of the town board of the town of Niskayuna,
of councilperson of the town board of the town of Niskayuna,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
We'll stand up for you too, John, don't worry.
And next, we are going to take up Resolution 2021-208, sponsored by Councilman McPartlin. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution appointing a lateral police officer.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I just want to take this opportunity to thank the deputy chief and thank John for coming back to Niskayuna. We are looking for good people in our police department, and with your experience and you're joining us in this department, we have great hopes, and we want to thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
I just want to echo that. As I talked a little bit in the back of the room before, I was just thrilled. I'm very grateful to the deputy chief for moving forward on this. First and foremost, when he talked to us about it initially, he said, it's a Niskayuna kid coming home. He knew he had me at that, but then he went on to talk about what a distinguished career you've had so far. I only look forward to it getting even better and more significant and contributing even more to a force who needs your kind of leadership. I am very grateful. I am thrilled that your family is here as well. And I look forward to working a lot with you throughout the years and seeing your family at events. And this is a real homecoming, and it's how it should be around here. And thank you for your willingness to serve. And thank you to the deputy chief for pulling this all together, an outstanding recruitment of talent.
Thank you. And again, to echo the sentiments of my colleagues, unilaterally, anyone who has worked with you, John, speaks your praises. And that says a lot about a person. And even the fact that you've been on a few different forces, we're so happy that you've chosen to now come to Niskayuna. And like Councilwoman McGraw said, that you're coming home. So welcome home. We're so happy to have you. Thank you to your family for joining us tonight. And at this time, will the clerk please call the roll?
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. John, if you would join me up at the front with your family to swear you in.
I, John Savada, do solemnly swear
I, John Savada, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of police patrolman for the town of Niskayuna,
of police patrolman for the town of Niskayuna,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God. Thank you.
Anyone else need to be sworn in? Anything at all? Well, she's still got the Bible in her hands. Thank you very much, Supervisor. Great work.
Okay, so back to the business of the evening. We're going to move on to approval of the minutes. We first have the minutes of the August 3rd, 2021 special town board meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Are there any changes to these minutes? With no changes, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And those minutes are approved. Next, we have the minutes of the August 4th, 2021 special town board meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Are there any changes to those minutes? Okay, with no changes, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm just going to abstain from the minutes since I wasn't here. Yeah, thanks.
All right, and those minutes are approved. Next, we have our public hearings. I'm going to have the town clerk call the first public hearing.
A public hearing on local law amending Chapter 17 of the Town Code of the Town of Niskayuna entitled Ethics.
Thank you. The first public hearing is now open. If you would wish to speak during the first public hearing, you can approach the dais, state your name and address for the record. And the first public hearing is open if you would like to speak. Okay, seeing no one willing to speak during the first public hearing, I'm going to close that public hearing. Now going to open the second public hearing. Will the clerk please call the second public hearing?
A public hearing regarding Dish Network placing equipment on the town's water tower.
Okay, the second public hearing is now open. If you wish to speak, you can approach the dais, state your name and address for the record. And the second public hearing is open if anyone wishes to speak. Okay, seeing no one willing to speak during the second public hearing, I'm going to close the second public hearing. I'm now going to open privilege of the floor. If anyone would like to speak during privilege of the floor, I ask that you approach the dais, state your name and address for the record.
Linda Rizzo, 2229 Fairlawn Parkway. I want to address a few issues. One of them is the choosing of the new police chief. I really do not understand why we're getting a flurry of emails regarding the process. First of all, how often do residents deal with the police chief? I think I've spoken to the former police chief, McManus, when he was here, maybe twice. The input, I believe, I don't think this is working. Is it? Okay, the input that I believe is needed is from the police department. They're the ones that are going to work with the police chief, not community people. I mean, it's almost becoming ridiculous because the police chief is supposed to definitely be an advocate for the department, not a pawn for any elected official. And I mean, I'm sorry, but we had a police chief, Wall, who was an advocate for the police department. And look what happened to her. So let's get real with this. I think you're just wasting a lot of emails over this issue. I'm not impressed. Secondly, I have to be honest with you, I'm very disappointed in what has gone on in this town. We have three individuals, Paul Sebesta, McManus, and now former police, and Fran Wall, who have gone through totally unnecessary suffering. And they've gone through it because of leaks to the press. I mean, and these leaks aren't coming from town employees or average citizens walking around. Make no mistake about it. And I think what is happening is someone gives somebody the info and they go leak it. And I find that really reprehensible. The point is that we had the last police chief, Fran Wall, and consider this, you've lost two police chiefs. What does that say? Think about that. What does it say about the town? Fran Wall was accused of really things that are totally unbelievable, being a racist, threatening people. I am sorry. If anyone checked into Fran Wall's background, they would have known that she has a biracial son. They would have known she has a multiracial grandchild. That's not hard. That's hardly a prototype of some raving racist running around. Secondly, Fran Wall was asked by town officials to stay on because her leadership was needed. This was over a phone conversation, and to give her conditions to remain. Well, her attorney draws up the conditions. Nothing happens with them. Nothing. And then an investigative committee is formed to investigate it. They never call her in for an interview. That's unbelievable. She wasn't interviewed by this committee that was investigating it. I mean, I think the slang for that is a kangaroo court. So we have all this intrigue going on in this town. We have more sagas in this town than you will find in a TV series. My next bone of contention is, and I don't know these people, I don't even know the new comptroller, but she doesn't live in Niskayuna. And you voted that she doesn't have to live in Niskayuna. Now, this is the person who's making decisions on our taxes, who's not paying taxes in Niskayuna. Nobody finds that strange? I do. I want someone living in this town who's going to share the pain when they decide to raise taxes or cut positions. Not somebody coming from another town, from Clifton Park. So we have that going on. And the other issue is simply that we now have what we call in this town Niskayuna, like WikiLeaks. I don't have a social media footprint because I can't stand the garbage. I don't take pictures of my dinner and I don't take pictures of my friends. I don't need to do that. But a couple of people, I would say, I got phone calls and some shared it with me. It's ludicrous. They have Paul Sebesta's report on this Niskayuna. Yeah, but someone had to give it. I'm sorry, it has to be someone that's a public official because no one had that report. No one. The town hasn't seen that report and it's there. And they're going to leak more stuff. That is reprehensible. You know, 3 people, and I think everyone up there that's sitting there bears some responsibility. You have 3 people whose lives have been ruined. Do you sleep well at night? 3 people, it was unnecessary. All this nonsense could have been handled privately. It could have been handled in executive session, but it wasn't. Now it's on the internet, it's on Twitter. So my point is, when people do stuff like that, there's an old expression, if you live by the sword, you're going to die by the sword, because people that are doing that are going to get it right back. They're going to get it right back. Believe me. And that's really not, to me, a horrible way to live. My last statement is this point, and this is a sensitive issue for me. I realize that we have people in this town that are unfortunate, but I hope that we do not, in our campaigns, use that as a reason to sit on the town board. I don't really think handing out food baskets and bragging about it is very good for those families. These are people that are suffering. Who wants to see the number, 80 people? That's all I keep hearing, 80 families, when you're sitting in your home knowing you're one of them. What an embarrassment. I'm sorry, but if you're going to do something like that, I think you do it quietly. If you want to hand out peanut butter sandwiches, do it quietly. If you want to give money, do it quietly. Because didn't someone say, when you do unto the least of them, you do unto me, you do it in my name? He didn't say you do it in your name. And wasn't there a quote, don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing? Well, in this town, you not only let your left hand know what you're doing, you let the whole world know. When you run a campaign, let it be about issues. As far as these people whose lives have been sort of torn apart, I will have to say, John Delarada did speak out and wrote a letter in defense of Sebesta. I also know, though I have disagreed with Rosemary Jackwith on being on the school board, I know she defended Fran Wall. I know that. I know she did. Now, I may not agree with politics of someone being on the school board. I don't have personal animosity towards anybody. I have principles. But she stood up for Fran Wall. Where was everyone else? Telling people privately you love them is meaningless. I haven't heard many voices, really. It's been quiet. And I did speak to Yasmin about Niskayuna. I know she's not involved in the Niskayuna. She doesn't know who's doing it either. She thinks it's terrible. But you never know what's going to appear on those leaks. So once you start the ball rolling of handing out this type of information, someone's going to start handing out information on other people. It's not a good idea. So when you review what's happened this year, what stands in my mind, I don't know any public policy that has affected me or any taxpayer. I mean, maybe it has, but I haven't seen any. The only thing I know that's made headlines is the destruction of town employees and employees that have been here for 36 years. And I also know there are leaks to the press all the time, and they are not coming from town employees. Officials are doing this. And it's really, really wrong. And I don't know to what advantage you think who's ever doing this, what advantage they think they have. So we have all these things going on. We have a real Peyton place here in Niskayuna. And I've said it before. If you're rudderless as a, I can't talk with this stupid mask on. If you're rudderless as a town, you haven't got the leader, someone standing up. This is what's going to happen. And to be honest with you, when the supervisor doesn't even know why Fran Wall's contract wasn't taken up by the rest of the town board, that says something. Why wouldn't she know that? That kind, you ask somebody for conditions and you don't even talk to them about it. You hold a kangaroo court investigating that person. You only call in the person who claims they were offended with their secretary, and that's it. You don't call her in, and then you submit a report or say they recommend she be fired. That is ludicrous. But I will say this, I know Fran Wall personally. I do not know personally Sebesta. We're not friends. I've spoken to McManus twice, and I don't know him personally, but I think what happened to him is horrible. But I do know Fran Wall, and I've known her as a police officer walking the beat. I've known her when she was sergeant. I've known her as lieutenant. That woman doesn't have a racist bone in her whole body. The minority students in this town at Niskayuna that she has encountered, she's gone out of her way to help. So what do we do with someone like that? You put a label on them, racist, and then you kick them to the curb. And you don't even find out if what was said. And the last point I'm going to make, when the supervisor claims she never heard the comment, don't you think you would call in Fran Wall and ask her, this committee? It didn't happen. So it is really unbelievable. But I'm going to say it again. I'm not in favor of school board and town board. I'm not happy with connections. And apparently we have another connection now. Why? Because it gets votes. That's the only reason it's about votes. Get the school community behind to get the board elected. So the board and the school board come together. And if you want the town to look like the school board, then we really are in big trouble. And that's all I have to say. I'm not going to keep coming. I mean, I came tonight. It's a waste of time. It's an absolute waste of time for any resident to come here and speak out. But I wanted to get it out. I wanted to say it. And I have expressed it in newspaper articles. But I'm just saying, I'm very disappointed. And the culpability of destroying 3 lives, and I know what has happened to the 3 of them since this thing has gone on. Paul Sebesta called me about 4 months ago. He was devastated. I've heard McManus really did a job on his personal life. And now we have Fran Wall, after 36 years, leaving in disgrace, being called all sorts of names, accusatory things allegedly. I'm sorry. And I do believe the controller, if they're going to make 6 figures, she needs to move to Niskayuna. Thank you.
Thank you. Privilege of the floor is still open if anyone would like to speak.
Unfortunately, my hearing is so bad, I did not hear an awful lot of what Ms. Rizzo was saying. But I do want to add to the board that I was part of the hiring back in let's see, we came in 87, I think, when Fran Wall, our former police chief, honorably serving, was hired as a patrolman, as the young officer tonight. She served under the most biased and despicable probationary time because the male officers, and I'm trying to think, I think the police chief at the time was, oh gosh, I can't remember his name, but he did resign after a while, and we hired, he lived around the corner from me. My memory's going. But on the other hand, I want to tell you that she served admirably, never got out of the night shift. She had all kinds of problems, but she was strong. She was a veteran, an ex-Marine, and most of the people lived in town, was a resident. At the time, we had a residency law. And people that wanted to work in Niskayuna, I'm surprised you all live in Niskayuna. When will you allow other people who don't live here to serve here? I'm very disturbed about what you've done in allowing people and giving them credibility when our controller, people that run for office now don't. Somebody that lives in our new IT guy, he's making a six-figure salary, and he doesn't live in town. Now, he lives in the county, but he doesn't live in town. And by the way, I must say, I haven't talked to him yet, but I do think he needs to be a little bit more complete on his website. I tried to write down through the summer because we've had spasmodic meetings where we have had some privilege of the floor, open meetings. And it isn't just our town, all the towns, all the municipalities, some are more available than others. I think Glenville has been outstanding in their openness. I think that as much as we have to wear masks and get inoculations, I have no problem. I am probably the oldest person in this room, and I have my 2 shots, and luckily I have not had any illness relating to the virus. But what I have to be concerned with is the ability. Well, we don't have a new person. We know Miss Weber from before, and she is serving till, I didn't quite understand her appointment. Is she
She's serving till
November?
Yes, till the
Oh, well,
election
no,
is certified.
January, yeah.
Till the election is certified 10 days after Election Day. That's
Well,
the
she
law says.
certainly has the experience of sitting on the board and going to committee meetings. But I want to know immediately with when she did handle the senior citizens, that not only with their reduced programming, they've cut an hour of the senior citizens' participation. I don't understand that. I don't understand why you wouldn't open an hour longer so that the seniors can get out of their house and maybe have a little bit more attention than what they're giving without cupcake night or whatever the heck you're doing. I read the programming, and no, it's a little far. The parking has never been improved. And I think that's an area where we have a tremendous need for the seniors of this town. We have seniors from out of town coming to take up our facility. And as yet, I'm not quite sure whether we're doing the senior exercise programs that are free to seniors that have that in their health insurance. The point is that there's so many things that we need to sharpen our town without giving people out of town, Clifton Park, is it Peak someplace in Schenectady County? I was corrected. I thought it was out
Princetown.
of state.
Every time I say it, it's Princetown.
Princetown, okay. But I don't see the need. I don't see that now that a person looking for a higher office does not want to be a resident, doesn't want to move here, even though the job requires residency. That person should not be considered. Regardless of where they take their tests, let them apply someplace else for the job. I feel that Niskayuna has to come back to being Niskayuna. And when we hire a controller, we hire special people to do things, they need to live in town and know what this town is about. I'm not voting for people that don't live in town. And when the planning board, that now I just read where we're going to allow another 3-story building. Why? 2-story buildings were fine. We have a 3-story building on Union Street. They needed it because they were going to put air conditioning equipment up there. No, they're not. They wanted that 3-story building so they could expand. Now, I'm telling you that you people either need to speak up or put microphones inside your masks. And granted, my hearing is not so good for a person 91 and a half, but I do want to know what you're thinking. I tried to read these resolutions, and frankly, I am discouraged and disgusted. We can't even get a full board. Now, and I must say, as much as I have been very disregarding of the person who represented the town board on the police committee, I find it appalling that we did not know once what the problems that were going on in the police committee. That the chief didn't have a secretary, she was doing the programming, the scheduling, and the chairman, the town board person who represented the police committee, never brought it up. Did you ever know we had all these problems in the police department? When I worked in the town, the police department was held in reverence. We loved the police department, and things got out of hand. Things got out of hand because we did not only loosen up our residency law, which has an effect of where people care about where they live, what they do, where they earn their money. And we disgraced the controller's office. We had a controller for 36 years. Nobody, Republicans, Democrats, conservatives, they all served this town. And if they had had any disregard in the time that the supervisor and the controller worked together, they should have brought it up a long time ago. And I think that it was a disgrace. It was a disgrace for our town. And right after that, with a new council person, the whole town lost its reputation. It lost its caring. It lost its seniors who had really nothing to go for. We had changes. We had personnel. I would think, personally, as a resident of 42 years and very active, and every single one of you have brought good things and you've brought terrible things. And the terrible things now have started to outweigh anything good that ever happened in Niskayuna in the town of 1806, I think it was, when we were incorporated. But I have to tell you, I started to make a list because I've been home, as we all have, and frankly, I ran out of paper. I couldn't write enough that I think you guys have really missed the boat. And right now, we're voting on 2 incumbents. We have a new person running. I don't know too much about the new officers or new candidates, but I will tell you, I don't want to hear where they come from, what their education is, how many kids they have. I want to know what their background is for the town of Niskayuna, our taxes, our residency, our vacant buildings. These are the things that I want candidates to care about, because this is where we live. People that don't live here, that want to make their $136,000 a year, they don't care what happens here. They don't care whether they agree with the unions or they don't, because they don't live here. They don't interact with our people. And when we come from people like Franny Wall, chief, and when we have a former chief and a deputy chief who hung out like they were twins, wherever I'd go, I'd see the two of them together. This isn't what you should have said, wait a minute, that's not in our code. What do you care about codes? You don't follow any of them anyway. We make hay on people's reputations, and those that are the strongest are the survivors. But I'm going to tell you something. Every time you grant someone an out-of-town residency, you are hurting yourself, because these people only want what you're giving them. They're giving us nothing. If we can't find in a town in Niskayuna with 22,000 men, women, and children, and I guess that's the latest number, maybe it's a little bit more, we don't have enough room left to make a big town. You mean to tell me that the school district that is supposed to be one of the best, they've made the most stupid, I have to laugh. The current superintendent got everything he wanted and then hands in his resignation. It was ridiculous. They gave him a non-residency. They gave him a raise. They gave him, who the heck else knows what they gave him. And he's leaving us to go to a little smaller little school district so he's closer to his home. Well, I resent that. I resent the fact that when we go and elect people thinking they're the best ones to represent us, they're not. And I blame the board, because you guys are the ones that get to the heart of the people. You live here. You should not be influenced by people that don't. And if you don't get enough residents, then you hire, or you go ahead and wish for another testing. But I think we have to stand on our strength, our town, the quality of people that not only live here, but that we want to represent us. And I hope, as much as you can have splash parks, but you're not doing the important thing. Those are things for the future. When you don't pay attention to the comprehensive plans, how many former future candidates and board people and town officials are going to pay any attention to what you proclaimed? So, when you come to make a comprehensive plan, or you come to think about what the taxpayers want or the residents want, and how we can best get along in this town and in this state and in this world, we have to have some kind of comprehensive plan that we honor. We don't honor anything. We don't honor what the residents are, what the people that work in town hall are supposed to do. The few people that we've engaged with during this pandemic have been the nicest quality people. They don't have state rights. They don't have to be, in some cases, elected. Sometimes they do. But it's the people that work here. And in many, many administrations, the people that work here have been brutalized in hiring and firing. And you all know who I'm talking about. But I have to say, these meetings are getting very discouraging because there's not a lot of good news. The only good news we have is that rates go up. We have to bring in, I'm sure Miss Weber has other things that she'd rather do, change her lifestyle for the next 4 or 5 months, because we have people that don't take this job that seriously. I'll retire. I'm going to go. I'm going to move out of town. I got a better offer. Doesn't anybody care about anything anymore? The only thing I care about is it gets dark and I have to be home because I promised my family I wouldn't drive after dark. But hopefully I will read the papers, try to get to the facts, wish those that are leaving good luck. Those that are coming in, watch out. As long as I have a voice, I'm going to try to get here, even if I have to get a person to drive me. Wouldn't that be awful? Good night, good luck. You've got a terrible few months ahead of you. A lot of problems, not only here in town, but in our country. I hope we all can manage to stay alive and healthy. Good night.
Thank you. Privilege of the floor is still open if anyone would like to speak.
Hello. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Elizabeth Kokosha. I am the chairperson of the Farmers Market Committee. I'm here tonight to talk to you about 2 resolutions, 2021-199 and 214. I'm confused why there's resolutions pertaining to the farmers market, and it's news to me to see it in the agenda. Nobody on the committee has been talked to about any of these. So the motivation for these 2 resolutions is a bit unclear to me. I saw in 214, I believe it was, I don't have it in front of me, that former Councilwoman Rosemary Perez Jacqueith's name was removed from the list of committee members. It has since been added back in, and that is appropriate. Rosemary has been in the trenches working with us since the beginning, since last year when she was elected onto the town board. She still, even though she resigned from the town board, she is still with us every week, sitting there in the canopy tent with us, setting it up. She arrives at like 7:30 in the morning. She needs to stay on the committee. And I'm here as the chairperson saying that we are not okay with removing her from the committee. The purpose of a committee is to steer the day-to-day operations of the market, right? We're there to steer it and to make sure everything is going as it's supposed to. Because of this, and because we have not been spoken to at all about either of these resolutions, I'm asking that Rosemary's name remain on the committee and that we table any votes regarding any resolutions to do with the farmers market until the interested board members that I'm looking at have a conversation with myself and the farmers market committee to help us understand, why are we making changes? We're halfway through the season. We only have 8 out of 15 markets left. The work is done. We've collected the money. We have everything done. The market is all set up. I don't understand what's spurring these changes, and I would like that explained to myself as well as the rest of the committee before any vote is done. So I'm asking that votes pertaining to the farmers market be tabled. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. And just to really quick address the questions that exist from the floor. It's strictly a formality, so it's not a change. So I do want to be clear about that. When the Farmers Market Committee was first constituted, in that process, when it was first constituted to today, there have been changes to who is serving on the committee, so to speak. So all of those things have to be memorialized in a resolution. So that's all that's happening. There's no change. Likewise with the fees are not changing. The fees are just being established officially via resolution. So while I agree that the committee should have been approached about this, it's under the umbrella of Highway Parks and Rec. And also, as a matter of it being memorialized as a resolution, we need that to take place in order to accept the fees, so
Right,
to
Libby,
speak.
we can't collect
So-
the fees if
right.
it's not.
Okay, so.
So it's a legal matter.
It was just,
What about
the
the
attorney she just caught it
Right.
as she was
What-
going through a lot of other
Okay,
other license agreements.
what about the past 2 years? We haven't done this this is the third year of the market. This is the first time it's being done, and it's halfway through the market.
It should have been done.
Right.
It wasn't.
Well,
So
that
how
doesn't
did-
mean we don't do it now.
So how did if we're saying that we can't collect fees for the market, what happened to the fees for the last 2 years?
I don't know the answer to that.
Well, we've certainly collected the money. We didn't have the authority to do it. That doesn't mean we can't do it, but it's now legal. Anytime we,
So it
anytime,
wasn't
let me
legal
finish, please.
before?
Go ahead.
I'm asking, you said, so now it's legal, so it wasn't legal for, trust me, I'm not trying to be argumentative. As the chairperson, this conversation is very concerning to me.
We need authority, legal authority to collect monies. We didn't have that before. We now do. So did we have the legal authority? No, that doesn't mean we couldn't collect it.
Okay. So let me go through some of my issues with the wording on that document, because it sounds like you guys are going to pass it regardless of what I said previously. That document refers to vendors needing to pay $200 for all 15 markets, $150 for 10 markets, and $25 for each market. However, it does not define what a vendor is, vendor, quote unquote. Is it somebody that's just standing at the table, or is it somebody that we're legally able to collect fees for, and we get to pick and choose who we collect those fees for? And the reason I'm wording the question that way is because we've taken pride in being able to allow nonprofits to have a booth for free at the market. We had our wild turkeys. Swim team was able to have a booth for free while they collected peanut butter and jelly for Niskayuna now. We've had other, we've had.
But they're not a vendor.
I'm sorry?
They're not a vendor.
It's not clear on that
Okay.
document. Can we
Well,
at least clarify that?
Sure.
Can I make that?
Yasmin's on the committee.
Right.
I think what happened was the town attorney who oversees all these license agreements went through a whole host of license agreements. I think there's something about lacrosse tonight.
Right.
We did something else about soccer. And I think she just thought she was catching up to make sure that everything that needed to be done was memorialized. That's my impression. I mean, Yasmin,
Yep.
this is your thing, so.
Yeah, and
We are also a co-sponsor on it.
Yeah, because I thought I was being supportive. I'm sorry, I didn't realize I missed something. I haven't talked to you in a while, so I didn't realize I missed something. I was doing it to be supportive
correct.
of you, of the market that I go to every week, and of the supervisor.
And also to be clear, these resolutions are in support of the functioning of the farmer's market and the committee. So these don't exist to change anything and to deter the operation of the farmer's market committee. This is only to improve operations.
Okay.
And the committees do exist as a function of the town board also. So that's hence why me as the supervisor is sponsoring it, and I have a co-sponsor and councilwoman.
Can I just make an observation? So I had to come here tonight and use all these resources, take the time up at a town board meeting to have a conversation about this, when a simple phone call to me could have been this conversation. In the future, I'd like to formally ask anything to do with the farmer's market, any resolutions or anything, just call me up and talk to me about it. We have.
I was under the impression that the town attorney had talked to you,
No,
or
I
that
have
the
never-
supervisor
I have
who is
never
on the
spoken to
committee.
Town attorney.
Well, there was somebody else. That you and I had talked about this. I just had the impression that, and to support the supervisor, I think all of this was just to make sure that everything was operational.
Okay, Yeah, those of us that
Yeah.
aren't on the town board don't necessarily understand
Okay.
the motivation for these resolutions.
All right, well,
Okay.
I'm not,
But
but
it
I'm,
was talked about. So we talk about this all the time, setting the fees. This is a piece of setting the fees.
Right.
And also, the membership was talked about.
Right,
And this is a piece of the process of setting the membership.
okay, because this is different than previous years, right? I said that.
It's different than the previous year, but the year prior, this is what we did,
We said.
minus the fees.
Right.
Yes.
Right, so it's different, right? I'm not on the town board, I'm not an attorney, I see this change, and I was like, why is there this change? I need to go down to speak at privilege of the floor, just to find out that there's something which is pretty standard being done.
yeah.
Well, so for conversation's sake, you are the chair, you're being constituted as the chair of this committee via this resolution. If we were referring to the original resolution, none of the names that are even on or participating currently would technically exist.
I think I was listed as a chair, because I noticed that. my
The first year?
was wrong. Well, the
The
first
first
year
year.
I was, when we were at the co-op, you mean?
Right.
I wasn't the chair that year.
Hence why we need
That's-
this. Is,
Right, that's.
does
the-
that make sense now?
That's all
why
we
need
have
this.
in town hall. And I was the one who said, but Libby is the chair of the group.
Yeah.
You're the person I talk to all the
Right,
time.
so this document existed before, just.
I don't-
originally it
With
removed
all
those
different
names,
names.
just re-added.
Yeah,
Correct.
different people's names. It was more of a license agreement between us and the co-op. Remember how we all started this? That was the license agreement. It was between
Right.
us and the co-op. That's what existed.
Okay, and then last year we were at the town hall.
I know, but we didn't pass a resolution last year. Between COVID and everything else, we didn't pass, a resolution wasn't given to us by the committee. Not your committee, the committee
That
that
committee,
oversees this, the
right.
Park and Recs Committee.
Okay, I had seen this, a similar document with the appropriate names on it, but.
But we
this
did
thing
not, but that never
passed.
got here. That never got here to
Okay.
pass.
Well, here we are, 8 out of 15 weeks into it. We're
Okay.
setting fees and a resolution. All I'm asking, and I think it's a simple request, if there's any other town board actions that need to happen pertaining to the farmer's market, talk to the committee members, and it should be that way for any committee, right? If you have people, we're there every week. I'm there every week. Rosemary's there every week. Jean is there every week. There's a few of us that are there every week. Just give us the consideration of a conversation first, just so we understand. And it should be that way with any committee, right? If there's people working, volunteering a ton of their time, have the consideration to have a conversation with them first. Okay?
You and I talk all the time, Libby. I would have been happy to have that
We had a
conversation.
meeting and we asked,
Well, I don't know why you wouldn't have asked
anyone,
me
right?
these questions,
Right, we
I
had.
would have been
well,
happy to
didn't know
answer them
ask
for you.
Right, I didn't see.
but we
them.
talk all the time.
Right,
So just to reiterate, and like I said before, it's a formality. We're not changing anything. We're so happy to have all of you on the committee, all the time and effort that you put. And you are all very dedicated, all the early mornings. It's incredible. Hence why we are adding you officially as a
Okay.
committee member.
I
Tonight.
appreciate that. Okay, thank you for listening to me.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, privilege of the floor is still open, if anyone would like to speak.
Leslie Gold, 1919 Pawtucket Avenue. I didn't plan on addressing the farmer's market issue, but I guess I will. I remember when Ben Wallach first came to town with the suggestion of letting him operate a farmer's market on the green. He was met with a lot of resistance and concerns about expenses not being met. So I hope that the fees that are being collected is authorized by this resolution to in fact meet the cleanup requirements, the police overtime, et cetera, the electricity, whatever. Now, what I did come to talk about was the budget process. The comptroller said that she was starting the process early. I have been looking for a posting of when the workshops are going to be and all of that. Have not seen it. I did not check today. I did check yesterday. So I'm wondering where that is in the process. And I will note that I expect the process to include all the fee changes that are going to be taking place for the next year. That's part of the budget process. You might as well just be upfront about it. List the changes right in the budget document, including the rates. And I want the budget hearing well in advance of Election Day. And I really do think that the actual budget adoption should be scheduled for some time in advance of the last day possible. I was very upset last year that it literally was hours before the deadline for approving the budget. And that clearly constrained what took place with that budget. It was not a good budget. I haven't heard anybody say it was. And I want a good budget this year for the coming year. It's too important an item. You know, we were recovering well economically, and then, gee, we've got another round of COVID with the Delta and everything. Don't know where we're going economically. I know we've got money coming in from the federal government. Don't know how that's being spent. We need accounting for that. I want a nice, clean, transparent process. And don't look at what the state's done, because that hasn't been very good either. And I'm hoping that the new governor will improve that process as well. But the town process isn't that difficult, and I do want it improved.
Thank you. Privilege of the floor is still open if anyone else would like to speak.
Good evening. My name is Peter Struzzi. I live at 1405 Hempstead Court here in town. I came tonight to discuss a document that was issued by Tom DiNapoli's office back in May of 2021. The comptroller saw fit, based on COVID and the impact that was anticipated on municipal budgets, to monitor 20 municipalities in New York State. One of them was the town of Niskayuna. The findings were something that I found were alarming, and I've made copies of this. I'm going to put them on the back table for people to take when they leave. The summary is basically that the indicated that the impact was correctly assessed, but the budget was balanced by including negative appropriations of over $663,000. The town, when adopting the budget, officials did not identify specific appropriations in each department from which these budgeted cost savings would be realized, nor developed a cost savings plan. This is not an appropriate budgeting method. This was back in May. My question is, has anything been identified to bring this back into balance?
So we don't typically have the back and forth. This is a little bit different than what we usually do, but to answer your question, yes. And that was a budget review, not an audit. We had extensive conversations with the Office of the State Comptroller staff. They don't even require a response to the letter. There's no formal plan that they're going to be looking for. However, in quick succession after the budget was passed, the budget was balanced via budget modifications.
Well, I realize they don't need a response, but I think we'd like to know.
Hence why I'm giving you my response, sir.
Do you have an itemized split of how you
Yep.
appropriated that?
Yes, we do.
Where do we find that?
We can provide it for you.
Okay. I'll give you a call tomorrow.
You can put in a request, certainly.
Certainly will then. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Sure, Leslie, it's a free-for-all.
What's that, Leslie?
Why not on the website?
Well, they're budget modifications, so we do it in our standard process. So it's a specific document. All the budget mods were made at one time. It's one document essentially, so that can be provided. And privilege of the floor is still open if anyone would like to speak.
I just wanted to, Linda Rizzo, I just wanted to bring up that issue about the budget. You know, when I was sitting here listening to what Mr. Struzzi was saying, I have said this before every budget presentation or before you voted. Last year, I said, if you're going to use fund balance to balance the budget, vote no. Because you're just putting us into deficit. What happened? Everybody voted yes, except one person on the board. And the reason was, well, the preliminary budget was going to be worse than this one. That's the reason you vote yes with taxpayers' money, that the other budget was going to be worse than this one. That doesn't make any sense. And this happens every single year. And you know, the one thing that bothers me when you're doing budgets here is that you cannot cut a certain amount from every department. You can't say everyone's got to take a 4% hit. Not all departments are equal. Some can afford the 4%, some can't. You cannot go to essential departments and ask them to cut 4% if they need the staff and all. It's not that clean of a thing to do. You just don't make these blanket statements. Not every department is created equal, but yet all this is going on. And I hazard a guess, and maybe I'm going to be wrong, Yasmin. Are you going to use the fund balance again? Because once you start using it, you got to keep on using it. Because that's non-reoccurring money, and you're going to continue to use it. And who's going to really worry about the deficit that you're going to wind up with? So I think I was listening to what this gentleman said. I mean, when the state's even telling you in its recommendations, you've got issues, wouldn't you think somebody would be paying attention? You know what? I said last year, vote no. What happened? Got all yes votes. And I got the reason was, well, the preliminary budget was worse than the current budget. That really makes sense. Is that really fulfilling your fiduciary responsibilities? I don't think so.
Thank you. Privilege of the floor is still open if anyone would like to speak.
I just came across the resolution appointing Ms. Weber, and I wanted to ask, I'm sure she's been vetted because she was not only a town board member before, but she also works in the county. Now, I don't have any problems with that because...
She works in the state.
I don't work for the county.
Excuse me?
I don't work for the county. No, I'm sorry.
Oh, you don't?
No, I don't.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were given a county job when you
No,
left.
mm-mm. I
Oh,
work for a
then
private
I have no
company.
problem
Yeah.
because there's no conflict.
No.
Thank you.
Okay,
And
thanks.
welcome back. I hope,
Thank you.
will you have the same committees? Will the chairman give her the same committees that Miss whatever, where is she? Jack had those committees? Because as I remember, Miss Weber had the senior citizens. I'm not sure, what committees that are now like the Highway Committee, and there was another very important committee she had. Will those committees be under Ms. Weber's tutelage?
It's the Highway Parks and Rec Committee now they've been replaced by the Highway Parks and Rec Committee. I will continue to serve as the chair of that
Okay.
committee until the end of.
All right, well, I just think we need consistency. There's certainly been enough upheaval in this town. And I do, again, wish you all luck. Thank you and good night.
Thank you. Privilege of the floor is still open if anyone would like to speak. Last call on privilege of the floor. If you'd like to speak, you can do so now. Okay, I'm going to close privilege of the floor. We're going to move on to our committee reports. We are going to begin with Councilwoman McGraw.
Getting fewer and fewer people. We're starting over here. As everyone knows, I am the chairwoman of the Public Works Committee in town. There's an awful lot going on right now at this time of year, especially. We work on a lot of construction projects and things that are weather related or weather dependent. We are developing 5 new wells. That is where our drinking water comes from. Our goal here is to ensure that as much of our drinking water comes from the town of Niskayuna as possible. We also have an intermunicipal agreement with the city of Schenectady, where we get a lot of our water, but that is dependent on relationships, that is dependent on their desires to raise fees and to do other things. So we always work to develop as many wells as possible within the town that is our own drinking water. So we're working on 5 of them right now. There are a lot of changes coming to the department. We are wishing a fond farewell to our deputy of the department. He's moving on to another position. He has done a great job here. We will truly miss him, but we're looking to fill the deputy town engineer position. We are also looking to bring in a junior civil engineer. These are critical positions that do everything from overseeing all of the activity around our water and our sewer and our, but then our working with the highway department on our roads and things like that. Obviously, working with the town economic development and planning department to ensure that whatever growth we have in town and whatever development we have in town is overseen in a thoughtful way and to the best engineering practices possible. There's a new water main going in over on Shannon Boulevard. I think many folks are familiar with this development over off Route 7. And we are excited that everything over there is moving forward. And I appreciate all the work of the engineering and water and sewer department to help move that forward, that project. We are bringing in another staff person for our recycling center. Our recycling center, especially at this time of year, gets very busy, so we can ensure that we maximize and we're not missing any hours at the facility. Also, I think folks know there's a lot of for sale signs around town, and real estate is moving rather quickly in the community. And what happens when you sell your house? You want to clean out your house. So ensuring that we are able to staff our recycling center to the best of our ability is just more important than ever these days. So I'm thrilled that we'll be adding another staff there. You'll see that we're proposing changes to our town code. Thank you to our town clerk for making this recommendation. Right now, the minimal pass you can buy is a multi-day, three-day pass. We've had a lot of requests at the town clerk's office. That's really our point of entry with these issues. For a one-day pass, because as I mentioned, you're cleaning out grandma's garage, you're doing those kinds of things. So we'll be moving to a one-day pass as well if that town code revision takes effect and passes a vote of the board. Our shredding day, it's always very popular, October 2nd. Bill McPartland, October 2nd. Bill McPartland's always right there by my side for this day. And it's shredding of documents. We have a big machine that comes in. It's very safe. It's very secure. You can stand there with your documents and ensure that they are shredded. We also take TVs and monitors and, all those things that manage to fill up our basements. We will be collecting all of those on October 2nd. We normally do it at Town Hall. We will be doing it at the recycling center this year because we're really trying to highlight the facility. There's been a lot of work that's been done up at that property. We've taken down our old water and sewer garage. We took it down before it fell down. We've done some beautiful landscaping and some repaving and just all the things that are going on over there. It was a great collaborative effort between our Public Works Department and our Highway Department. I thank our Highway Superintendent for all he did to ensure that in that area of town, which, we have in essence, a town dump in the middle of our parks. So to try to make sure that, we don't have water and sewer, big, huge trucks going through a town park in between a baseball field and a splash pad. I know the splash pad was belittled earlier today, but I think most people in town, they like to go over there and they like to go over there safely. So thank you to Ray Smith and his team for ensuring that everything that the Public Works Department and Matt Yetto's team did was done aesthetically pleasing, but also safely. And I just want to point out finally, we weren't quite sure what was going to happen with Hurricane Henri here. I think many of us are still very firmly in our memory was what happened, the last time we had a big storm here and it wasn't even a hurricane. But we weren't quite sure what was going to happen. The Canal Corp stayed in regular contact with us. They were actually calling my house looking for me while I was at the Niska Day Parade with the supervisor, just to kind of let us know what was going on, what they were going to do with their locks, things they were going to open, things they couldn't close, and just making sure that we stayed safe. The last time we had a big storm, I remember it very vividly. We had to evacuate Niska Isle. Libby is gone. She lives there now. But we had to evacuate over there. I think Stan Fominski went out and knocked on a lot of doors and made sure that people were safe and they got the message. We evacuated Lock 7 Road, I believe, as well. We did all of that while we were physically building a berm around our water plant, because our water plant is right there where the Mohawk and the lock meet. And it was a very frightening time. And we are very grateful that none of that had to happen this time. But I am quite appreciative to our fund and our strong relationship with the Canal Corp that stayed in regular communication with us, but most importantly to our Director of Water and Sewer and our town engineer, Matt Yetto, who spent the entire weekend in briefings with them, working with the Canal Corp, working with the state folks to ensure that whatever was going to happen in Niskayuna, we were ready. And we were going to be as safe as possible, and that our water plant was going to be protected if we had to rebuild or build up again that berm that we did by hand 10 years ago. We were going to get back out there and do it again to make sure that our water stays safe in this community. So I want to thank Matt Yetto as well. That is all I have, Madam Supervisor.
Great, thank you very much. We're now going to move on to Councilman McPartlin.
Thank you, Supervisor. Police and Public Safety met on August 3rd here. Operationally, the PD is currently testing the 4th body cam system. Continue to test these systems, so hopefully when we get some funding through grants, we'll be ready to make a move on getting body cameras for our officers. We received a yearly grant from the GTSC grant, which is Child Protective Seats, Seatbelt Enforcement, and you'll see some resolutions for that later this evening, accepting those grant funds. Fleet and equipment, the quote for the fit up of our 2 police cars, which we don't have yet, but we're getting our quotes ready for the fit up when we do receive them. Niskayuna Tire is the lowest bidder on that, so they will be doing the fit up for those cars when we do receive them. We've auctioned off 2 old cars plus some other cars that were taken into the impound for revenue of about $32,000. Our first tactical uniforms have arrived with detective polo shirts. Feedback on both items for our new uniforms so far has been very positive. We actually demoed the uniforms before we went ahead and purchased them, so we're very happy that they are working out. Building wise, the deputy chief is still waiting to get together with our IT director and Charlie to get the locking system on the administrative computers so that the police department will have availability to be able to unlock and lock the building here at Town Hall. Our new DVR system and some new cameras have been installed, and they are working very well, seem to be a little more user-friendly than the system that we've had in the past. We want to thank Ray and the Highway Department for getting the painting done for the safe exchange zone out there. This is a safe exchange zone for town residents for if they're doing transactions over the internet and they need some place to go. We have lighting and cameras out there so they can have a safe exchange. Training-wise, Deputy Chief met with the SCSO and Schenectady PD regarding a grant from Northern Rivers. They're filing a grant to hopefully train 25 officers countywide for crisis intervention. So hopefully that grant will get awarded and we'll be able to have some officers involved with that program. And training is very important. We continue to work with the countywide active shooter training, which is going to take place here in town on the 16th and 17th. Community events, Niska Day went off Everyone knows that. Jean is here. Everything went very well. I want to thank all our officers that participated and the auxiliary police from Niskayuna, which did a great job helping with the parade route and helping out our officers make that a great success. And Jean, thank you for all the work you did on that. Great success. Farmers Market continues its weekly success here at Town Hall. Town Clerk Michelle Martinelli, Michelle Mazurek, Paul Briggs, and the Deputy Chief met regarding our APF contract and our difficulties. We're still trying to work on that for animal protective when dogs are taken in, and trying to work out a solution for those situations for our residents. We did have a short discussion about the administration of soliciting permits, which the town clerk's office does. Those are still on hold, and I think that's more important now with the way that COVID Delta variant is coming around. So we're sort of just holding the line on those at the present time. Fire department, the fire chief reported about the fireworks permit. Apparently that was all taken care of because the fireworks went off without a hitch. So that's good. And the new radio system is up and running. They're talking about backup batteries for the radio systems. These are expenses that the deputy chief is anticipating, which might be coming our way. So that'll be working into the budget process this year. Again, looking forward and not having any surprises. So thank you for working on that, Deputy Chief. And that is all I have to report. Our next meeting will be September 7th at 8 a.m.
Great. Thank you very much. I'm going to deliver the Highway Parks and Rec Committee report. It'll be in combination with the Supervisor's report. So I'll begin with highway update. Our crews have been prepping roads for the next round of paving. They are set to begin the paving within the next few weeks. Our crews have also been out landscaping the roads that have been paved during the last round of paving. Yard waste pickup is progressing on schedule. For a community programs update, the Community Programs Department is wrapping up their extremely busy summer with a total of 1,600 plus registrations. Want to extend a very sincere thank you to all of the participants and the instructors who ran these camps. They were hugely important, especially during these times of the pandemic, to get kids out and busy and happy. I would like to give a big thank you to Rebecca Barr, Ori Chiang, Abigail Thomas, and Sarah Harrow. They're all Niskayuna High School students. They organized and volunteered for the cross-country running program for grades 3 through 8. In total, 90 children participated in this free program, so thank you very much to those 4 individuals. The Community Programs Department has held 3 August movie nights so far and will be holding the final movie night this Friday evening. They're working on some additional movies to be shown in the fall, and we'll send out an email blast on those dates and movie selections once they have been determined. Our summer concert series has had its fair share of weather cancellations. It is going to be wrapping up for the season. I believe about half of the concerts actually took place, but it's been a really rainy summer. So better luck next year, right? Thank you to all the bands who played this summer and to all the people who attended the concerts that weren't rained out. Regarding fall soccer, registration is now closed, but there are still limited openings for the kindergarten level only. If your child is entering kindergarten and would like to try soccer, please contact Julie Lohr. For a senior programs update, August is the final month of water aerobics, which has proven to be a very popular program with our residents. To celebrate the end of the summer season, there is a party scheduled for Sunday, September 12th at the pavilion behind the senior center. The celebration will coincide with Grandparents' Day. There will be food, ice cream, music, and bocce ball. And I believe the new bocce ball court will be open at that time. The lunch program in partnership with Gershon's Deli continues to be a tremendous success, averaging 50 to 60 senior meals distributed on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Those meals are just $5. There was a well-attended information session by the Alzheimer's Association at the Senior Center. They will also be hosting a Medicare resource lecture in September. Also in September, there will be beginner mahjong as well as evening arts programs. So please check the Senior Center program calendar online for dates and times. And the next meeting of the Highway Parks and Recreation Committee will be on Wednesday, September 8th at 8:15 a.m. I believe at that time we will still be conducting all of our meetings right here in the boardroom. So for a brief supervisor's report, I will give a budget process update. We're in the midst of budget season, preparing the 2022 budget. We are progressing well through our departmental budget meetings. The tentative budget is due September 30th, so we have a little bit more than a month away here. We will have a series of budget workshops the first and second week of October for budget review. Those meetings will be open to the public and will be recorded and live streamed to our YouTube channel. That concludes my supervisor's report. We are now finally going to move on to the resolutions.
We're never going to. I just have one quick thing. The supervisor mentioned the very successful movie series that we've been having on Friday nights. Prior to the movie series starting, we had what we call a dive-in movie at the town pool. That was the first Friday, and then we went into the few Fridays of the movies on the green here. We are going to end the summer on September 3rd, Friday night, September 3rd, with the final dive-in movie of the season. And we are going to thank everybody who's been part of the pool all year, or you just want to see it for the first time. And we will be having a movie a family-friendly movie, and we are going to start at 6:30 with a 7 o'clock movie time. And pay attention to your emails, because we think it's very important to communicate with town residents via email around here. Thank you, Madam Supervisor.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to Resolution 2021-191, sponsored by Councilman McPartlin. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution amending 2021-155.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Weber,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
4 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2021-192, sponsored by Supervisor Syed. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing a contract regarding telephone and utility consulting and auditing services.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Weber,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
4 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2021-193, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution appointing a recycling helper at the town's transfer station.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
I just want to thank Carol McDonald for being willing to serve at the recycling center. We always find that, it's like that old commercial. Our best employees are our customers, and Carol and her husband are people who have used the recycling center for years. They're just part of a team. Leslie is such a perfect example, a community that is over there, and they support one another and they carry each other's stuff. And especially through COVID, it kind of stunk because they really like to socialize on Saturday mornings. But we're thrilled that Carol has been willing to step up and help us over there, because we really do need it. It's just a valuable asset to the community. And thank you for Matt Yetto for convincing her to join the team.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Weber,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
4 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2021-194, sponsored by Councilman McPartlin. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing acceptance of grant funds.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Weber,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
4 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2021-195, sponsored by Supervisor Syed. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing certain budget modifications.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Weber,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
4 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2021-196, sponsored by Supervisor Syed. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution designating members to the Records Advisory Board.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. And at this time, I do have a motion to amend, so let me just quickly get to the resolution.
It's to the town clerk or her designee.
Yes. Yeah.
So I will
Oh,
propose.
thank you.
You got it?
I got it. Yeah. So where it says the town clerk, we're going to add
Or her designee.
or his or her designee. Yes, correct. Or his/her designee. So do I have a second on that motion?
I will second that.
Thank you. So on the motion to amend, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Weber,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin,
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
4 ayes on the amendment.
Thank you. And on the motion as amended, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Weber,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin,
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
4 ayes.
And the resolution as amended passes.
Thank you.
Next, we have the introduction of local law F of 2021. That local law is included in the packet. We have extra packets printed at the back if you would like to read the local law. Next, we have Resolution 2021-197, sponsored by Supervisor Syed and Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution calling for a public hearing on a local law amending Chapter 129 of the Town Code of the Town of Niskayuna entitled Garbage, Rubbish, and Refuge.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Weber,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
4 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2021-198, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution approving the second quarter 2021 corporate utility bill warrant.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Weber,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
4 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2021-199, sponsored by Supervisor Syed and Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution establishing fees related to the 2021 farmers market.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Weber,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
4 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2021-200, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution awarding a contract for Shannon Boulevard Water Main Replacement Project.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
This is a very important project to our town. A enormous team of people have been working on it. I think it's hard to work in town hall and not be touching this project right now. I saw a list of people who came for some construction meetings around it, and I think every name in town was there. I want to thank everybody who has been working on these water and sewer issues as it relates to it. It's been a very high-profile project. We've discovered some town artifacts in the homes that are around this project, so I'm eager to move forward on it, and I thank everybody who's been involved with it.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Weber,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
4 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2021-201, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution approving a sewer district extension on Pierce Road.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
This is a project, Paul Briggs knows it better than anyone, that people have been asking for in this area for a long time. I'm happy to see it moving forward. I want to thank the residents who all came together to organize around it and raise it up and bring it to our attention. I want to thank Paul Briggs. There's a piece in here, subletter A, that talks about a petition. Petitions don't just happen by magic here. We don't do them by internet petition polls or something on Twitter. Paul Briggs goes door to door in a community when something like this is raised by the neighbors. He's done it for years, and he'd sit in people's kitchens and talks it through with each and every one of them. And this one took a while because it's pretty big and it's pretty involved. And I want to thank Paul Briggs, our town attorney, who obviously does a lot of things around here, but going door to door is also one of them. So thank you, Paul, for bringing forward this and making sure that it moved ahead.
You're welcome, and I just want to put the people in Country Club area on notice. I've started,
I actually started to say something about that, so I'm glad you're saying it.
Knocking on their doors.
I was there tonight, this afternoon, and I'm going to be in about 30 or 40 homes requesting permission for a temporary construction easement to fix their sewer lines. So you'll be seeing me. Thank you. But thank you, Denise.
I know it was said tonight that someone's never seen you before. Well, watch what you wish for. He's going to show up at your doorstep. So Paul, thank you. We really so grateful for all you do.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Weber,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin,
Aye.
Supervisor Syed,
Yes.
4 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2021-202, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing the supervisor to enter into a contract with ESG.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Weber,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin,
Aye.
Supervisor Syed,
Yes.
4 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2021-203, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution approving a water district extension for Kelt's Farm.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
If folks aren't familiar with what Kelt's Farm is, don't worry, you will be. It is a development that's really, everything we've seen and all the designs we've seen are really going to be just very special. It's a nice addition to our community. It's on River Road in an area that's just sort of underdeveloped now. But everything that they are looking to do, including building in parklands and a gazebo and things, that it really should be lovely. And Paul, was this another petition that you had to go out and get door to door?
No,
Oh,
it's developers, so we don't have to have individuals. This is one person signs the petition. So it's an easy one.
but I do know that Matt Yetto and my engineering team have been very involved in this one, so thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Weber,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin,
Aye.
Supervisor Syed,
Yes.
4 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2021-204, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution approving a sewer district extension for Kelt's Farm.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Weber,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin,
Aye.
Supervisor Syed,
Yes.
4 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2021-205, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution approving a drainage district extension for Kelt's Farm.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Weber,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin,
Aye.
Supervisor Syed,
Yes.
4 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2021-206, sponsored by Councilman Delarada. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution taking action on a special use permit application for a mixed-use building at 2147 Eastern Parkway.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Weber,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin,
Aye.
Supervisor Syed,
Yes.
4 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2021-207, sponsored by Councilman McPartlin and Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution amending the town code regarding off-road vehicles.
Thank you. I will second.
Thank you.
Sir, you're welcome. Sir, any discussion?
This is a project that's been ongoing for a while. It's something that we really wanted to try to get done this summer. I think anybody who lives in whatever part of town, I live over closer to Route 7, and, give me a good Friday or Saturday night and the noises that you hear from over there, but really just trying to keep people safe. This is a project that started an initiative, a new law that started with the aforementioned many times over, Chief Wall, who was very supportive of this, who was very helpful of this. And then I am very grateful to Deputy Chief Stevens, who carried the mantle with this and made sure that it happens. Even though he's got a lot of other things going on his plate, a lot of technical assistance. I don't know the ins and outs of ATVs and all of these things, but making sure that we can address these issues to keep our residents safe, to keep the folks who are driving them safe, and also to keep our officers safe who are responding to these kinds of calls. So I want to thank everybody at the department. I want to thank Councilman McPartland for partnering with me on this issue because he knew it was very important to me, but I did want that technical assistance from the department on this. I want to thank the town attorney's office for ensuring that what we are trying to do here stands up to any legal test. So thank you all.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, just want to echo Councilwoman McGraw's remarks. Thank you to everyone that participated in this. We wanted to make sure that our town and our laws were commensurate and equal to other areas, and to try to, keep people from riding these ATVs, mini bikes, motorcycles, whatever they might be, in an illegal manner off our streets, and to make it safe for our residents and safe for people that do ride them, and discourage that kind of behavior. So thank you to everyone that participated in this. It does take a lot, as you know.
Yeah.
It takes a lot, and it takes a lot from our legal department to make sure we get it right. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Weber?
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw?
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin?
Aye.
Supervisor Syed?
Yes.
4 ayes.
And this resolution passes. We already passed Resolution 2021-208, so we're going to move on to 2021-209, sponsored by Councilman McPartlin.
A resolution awarding a contract for upfitting of 2 police vehicles.
Thank you. Do I have a second? I will second.
Second.
Nope.
Yeah, sorry.
Councilwoman McGraw can second. Is there any discussion?
Supervisor,
Yes.
actually, I think you have a typo here.
Okay.
It looks like it's written for only, the value looks like it's written for one car.
Okay.
But I mean,
So the not to exceed, that number looked low to me, right?
that's-
Yeah.
that's
If you can get them for that, I'd love you.
So,
Do you know what the
So is it
correct
double?
figure is?
now off the top of my head, I mean,
Well, we could say any
Do
number.
we need
so
to
it-
pass this
Right.
right now tonight?
or you have to modify it later, whatever's better for you guys. I don't know what you want to do.
Paul, just give us a not to exceed number, right?
$20,000.
Is that good?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion to amend so that it reads at a total cost not to exceed $20,000.
I will
So-
second that motion.
Thank you. Okay. So is there any further discussion? And thank you for pointing that out. Okay, so on the amendment, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Weber?
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw?
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin?
Aye.
Supervisor Syed?
Yes.
4 ayes on the amendment.
Okay, and as the resolution as amended, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Weber?
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw?
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin?
Aye.
Supervisor Syed?
Yes.
4 ayes.
And the motion as amended passes. Next resolution, 2021-210, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing the supervisor to enter into a license agreement with Lacrosse Club at Avon Crest Park.
Yep. Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
This is another resolution that is a license agreement. We had a lot of conversation earlier about license agreements. This is sort of what we do here. This is our agreement with an organization to allow them to use a town facility. This resolution is part of what brought up a lot of looking at a number of other license agreements in the town. I know that our deputy town attorney, who is not here, not this town attorney, but our deputy town attorney, who worked here for years, and then she left for a short period of time, and now she's here part-time. This is really what she does. She reviews all of these to make sure that what we are getting as a town and what we are doing as a town protects every organization. but ensures that we are also good stewards of the taxpayer dollars. It was brought to our attention that the license agreement between the town and Lacrosse may not have been memorialized this year. A lot of things happened with COVID. So this was one that was brought to our attention a couple of weeks ago, and they were ready to get rolling over at Avon Crest Park. They thought they had agreements. They had a handshake, perhaps with some folks at the town, but they did not have a license agreement. So I want to thank the Deputy Town Attorney, Elena Finnan, who worked on this and worked on a lot of the other license agreements that we're going to be seeing month after month now, it sounds like. I want to thank the supervisor who stepped in. I want to thank the former town board member who actually runs Niskayuna Lacrosse for bringing it to our attention that he just felt like he hadn't seen anything or hadn't signed anything. And so he realized that. I want to thank Paul Briggs, as always, to making sure that all of this took place. So I believe now Niskayuna Lacrosse will be set to start using Avon Crest Park as soon as possible.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Weber,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman Partlin,
Aye.
Supervisor Syed,
Yes.
4 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2021-211, sponsored by Supervisor Syed. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution hiring head lifeguards for fall soccer referees.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. Okay. Thank you. Is there any discussion?
I'm going to
Seeing-
make an amendment to this resolution because it wouldn't be one of these resolutions if I didn't make an amendment, and we wouldn't be having so much fun these days if I didn't. So I am going to make an amendment to add the name Benjamin Graber as a lifeguard position on the second page at $9. So the last name, we're going to add a variety of head lifeguards that are required by by county law and state law. And then we are also going to add another lifeguard, Benjamin Graber, $9.
Okay. I will second that
Thank you.
amendment. Okay, so on the amendment, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Weber,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin,
Aye.
Supervisor Syed,
Yes.
4 ayes on the amendment.
And on the motion as amended, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Weber,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin,
Aye.
Supervisor Syed,
Yes.
4 ayes.
And the resolution as amended passes.
I want to thank everybody who stepped up to be a head lifeguard at the town pool. It is a critically important position, primarily because we hire people like Benjamin Graber, who are only 15 years old. So we need head lifeguards who are 18 years old or older. So thank you to all those who stepped up to fill those positions for us in mid-season.
Thank you very much.
Madam Supervisor.
Okay, we already approved Resolution 2021-212, so we're going to move on to Resolution 2021-213, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to authorize the supervisor to enter into fence easement agreements.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Weber,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin,
Aye.
Supervisor Syed,
Yes,
4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2021-214, sponsored by Supervisor Syed and Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution appointing individuals to the Town of Niskayuna's Farmers Market Committee.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? So I just want to be certain, to stay on the record as well. As the resolution reads, point number 2 on the bottom states chairperson of Highway Parks and Rec Committee or his or her designee. Because I am currently the committee chair of the Highway Parks and Rec Committee, at this time, I would like for my designee to be Councilperson Weber, if Councilperson Weber would agree and accept. So,
Certainly. Yes.
Wonderful.
I would be happy to. Thank you.
okay. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Weber,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
I just want to thank all these folks for willing to serve. I know that there was some people who have left, other people who have joined this, and that's why this resolution was so important. There were some people who were not, I'm just going to pick on her because I've known her for 100 years and love her. Donna Evans was not on the farm market committee as we knew at town hall, but everybody knows, Jean, I mean, Donna Evans is living and breathing this farm market, and we can't do it without her. So this was simply to memorialize the folks that we know are working so very hard toward this farm market each and every week. And I want to thank them, as always, for everything that they do for our community. My vote is yes, enthusiastically.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2021-215, sponsored by Supervisor Syed and Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution appointing individuals to the Town of Niskayuna's Task Force on Racial Equity and Justice.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
Again, I want to thank people who have been willing to serve. This is a well-rounded, robust group. Our process internally, led by Paul Briggs, to ensure that each and every resume that we received was well vetted. There were a number of resumes that came forward after a series of newspaper articles that we really tried to spread the word on this. We were not hearing from folks. We got some press releases out. We got some town emails out, because that's what we do, communicate with folks. And we were very pleased. I think, Paul, it was 10 or 15 resumes after we were all said and done, after we started to promote this, right?
15.
15, and one was better than the next. This was not an easy process. I mean, I can say it for this end of the table. This was not easy to choose from folks. I don't know all of these people. I look forward to getting to know some of them. The ones that I do know are some of the best and brightest, and I really think they bring a unique perspective to a very important committee in our town. So I want to thank them all for being willing to serve.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, just want to thank everyone who put in a resume and who volunteered to, possibly serve on this committee. As they said, 15, and it was, as Denise said, one was better than the next, all very qualified people. We have a lot of great people in this town, and a lot of people that are willing to step up and serve when asked. So we'll be holding on to those resumes, because
Absolutely.
these positions have term limits, and hopefully at some other time, the ones that weren't chosen can serve.
And I sent out the notices to the people that weren't chosen, and almost within minutes, I received a notice back from one that said, are there any other committees available for the town?
Oh, you've made our day.
Great.
I only wish Laura was here to hear that, but that's fantastic. Get us that resume right away. We've got jobs for them.
Great. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Last but not least, resolution 2021-216, sponsored by Supervisor Syed. Will the clerk please read?
I don't have it in any of.
Resolution number 2021-216, a resolution to adopt revisions to the employee handbook.
Great, thank you. I think it just didn't make it
Thank
to the
you.
printed agenda version.
Yeah, it didn't make it.
Okay. Okay,
Thank you.
do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to motion to adjourn. Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We're adjourned for the evening. Everybody have a wonderful night. Enjoy the rest of your summer. Have a happy Labor Day if I don't see you before then.